our regular Board of Education meeting to order. At this time, we have some members of the High School National Honor Society who are going to lead us in the pledge. Come on all the way up and get all the way over and block me so the cameras can see you. There you go. We have with us this evening from NHS, we have Olivia Van Hove. We have Secretary of NHS, Lindsay Schweiger, and Treasurer Matt Skorians. So we thank them for coming this evening, and if we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And guys, if you want to turn, there we go. Whenever you're ready, we're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Good job. Well done. It is really loud. Brian, is there a way to just turn that down just a tad? Okay. Okay, next, our mission statement. Bridget?
At Richmond Community Schools, we provide a quality education that empowers students to be successful in the global community. Sarah? Here. Chris? Here. Dan?
Here.
Margaret?
Here.
Tracy's absent with notice. Jeff is absent with notice. And I am here. We still have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. A motion would be in order to approve the agenda as presented.
Moved.
Okay, it has been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our first item this evening, we have a presentation. It is an overnight leadership trip from the high school. And Mrs. Smallwood, are you going to be?
I'm going to give as much as I can verbally. Veronica Golf is joining me as well. She has a PowerPoint prepared.
Oh, okay.
And in all honesty, she has a little more background
Okay.
trip than I do.
Okay.
But I'll share what she shared with me and that as an advisor.
Would you?
I hate to tell you, would you go up to the microphone right now?
I apologize, I'm not feeling the greatest.
You're absolutely fine.
What I was starting to say is, as the advisor of student government, we were asked by Elmont Schools and the principal there, who's also takes on a leadership role with his student council, to join them on a camp experience. They would be leaving on Sunday evening, and I, again, don't know the exact camp name. It's here in Michigan. And it's pardon me? Yes. And we would be working with the students that are currently in leadership roles in the building, that are our student government leadership, our perhaps some of our NHS leadership, and Veronica is wanting to bring some of her students in her AP Art course. And this is to hopefully build leadership skills in these students for future leadership roles here in our building. And Elmont presented this to us last year at a meeting we had with them, student government to student government here in the building, and it sounds like a great experience. And Veronica has done it. She's been with the East Detroit group when they both were employed
for about
at East
6
Detroit.
years now.
And she can tell you better than I, but I would be a chaperone along with Veronica and Dr. Ladd.
While they're getting, I apologize. Usually I run it from here, but there's a lot of meeting differently, so I don't have access to my files. So I asked Veronica to go get the PowerPoint. It was sent to me earlier, and said they were all doing differently. I logged out. I think you guys all know.
Do we know where the remote is for this? Enter, should I escape it? 6617.
That's my
It should
screen.
be up.
That's my screen.
It should be up now, though.
Okay.
Okay, so the leadership trip, we said student government, student APR, maybe NHS students, and we're mixing it with the two schools, Richmond and Elmont. We're looking at potentially adding more schools each year, adding in maybe Armada next year, and kind of working together with different schools. It's at Center Lake Retreat Center, which is in Tustin, Michigan, and this is just one of the pictures of the actual lake. We do a ton of team building, low ground initiative, things that problems that the kids have to kind of solve together. We put them in groups in the beginning, and we try and mix them up so that they're not with their best friends, and they really have to take the chance and meet new people. And obviously, being with a different school, there'll be a lot of unknowns, which will be good. They make team flags, they do just a lot of different bonding things. Basically, we ask them to participate in everything that they can. It's challenge by choice, which means when we do some of the, whenever we're doing any of these low initiative things, we really expect everyone to participate, but when we're doing some of the things that might be a little bit more scary, some of the high rope things or the rock climbing, if they choose not to do that, that's fine. If they choose, if their goal for that day is to get the harness on and just put, 2 feet up and see how far they can go, then that's it. Where others might go all the way to the top of the tower or whatever. So this, again, is another team building. They have a high ropes course, and you work with a different partner through the whole thing, and then, of course, Dwayne, the camp director, is the one that is the safety person there. And just another picture of the high ropes, and then this is another one. It's actually up above off the ground, and you have to pull the boat together to get to the other side. There's paintball. There's not really a ton of pictures of paintball because you really can't bring your camera out there, but they have a ton of woods. It's kind of roped off in a different area, and there's a lot of different games that you can, the kids can play. Of course, again, it's led by an instructor at the camp. We do a polar bear dip where the kids, we only do it one time, where they go in, they have to go under and get out, and then they run to the showers. We do it one morning, and again, this is a challenge by choice. So if you choose not to do it, you didn't necessarily have to do it. But usually the kids really enjoy doing it. Horseback riding. So now for a lot of our kids, this isn't that big of a deal, but yeah, obviously for the East Detroit kids, it was a big deal. But there are some kids here that I kind of had asked a little bit about that, and some were great, and some were like, nope, I'm not, a horse person or whatever. So that's the experience that they'll get. They go on like a trail ride, basically. They have a rock climbing tower. This is one from the Elmont. This specific slide is from the Elmont last year. And we do some campfires, a lot of different ones. We'll do individual, like team ones, and then we do one big, giant one, which is great, assuming that weather is good. If not, we end up doing talent shows and things like that inside, just when weather doesn't permit. Just another picture from the lake. This is from the deck. They will get, we're leaving on Sunday morning to have less time away out of the classroom. We're looking at doing that Sunday. By the time we get up there, it'll be noon, so they'll do all the activities until about 11 o'clock that night. And then the next day is our big full day, that's Monday. And then Tuesday we'll do the final activity and then be out the door by 11, should be back to school, hopefully 2, 3 o'clock. Kind of for our athletes so that they aren't missing too much sports or other things. Commitments that other kids might have. They basically will have, we have cabins where the boys will sleep separately from the girls with the male counselors, and then the girls will sleep in the main area with the female counselors or staff. We really don't give them a whole lot of free time because we just go like from one thing to the next. And usually they're pretty tired by the time they get home, but it's a wonderful experience. And the cost is $85, and then there's plus transportation. I found out a little bit more on that. We're trying to go on the bus with the Almont so that we can save on transportation. So if we have our 20, 25 students and they have 20, 25, we can share the cost, which would be a lot cheaper. What we do is we take the bus up there and somebody follows in a car and then they drive the bus driver back. And then that way we're not paying for bus up and bus back and then bus up and bus back again. So they leave the bus up there and then somebody will drive the bus driver back up and then they'll drive the bus home. And it just saves us $1,000 or so. So that's kind of why we do it this way. So transportation is going to be about $500. So if we add that to our 20, 25 kids, it'll be another $20 that they'll have added on to the 85. And then again, that's the meals and all the activities that they have. So questions?
Do you have a commitment of 20 or 25 kids right now? Is that what you're saying?
I think we wanted to, we kind of didn't want to.
No, we wanted to get the approval before we
Got it to.
Here's the trip.
Yeah.
Okay, then what was leading next was then if you're, have the conversation been it's $85, but then now it might be $105, and will that do any different to the kids that you've been talking to, I guess is what I'm asking.
I'm not sure about that yet, but, you know, I've kind of mentioned it a little bit here and there at pockets of kids and just to see.
Okay.
But.
Okay, and then what are they gonna, I think it's a great idea. It's any kind of leadership camp or anything you can take kids to is great. What are they gonna bring back? Because you said some are your student council kids.
We have 2 student leaders per grade level.
Okay.
And my goal is to take each of those student leaders, if they're able to go, just to see what this whole experience is like. If this is something that we can really work with and do in the future, then of course invite more students.
The whole student council or something like that,
Exactly,
build on it,
and
okay.
Maybe build on fundraising or whatever we can do to help defray the cost. But right now, this would be an out-of-pocket expense until, you know, a little bit more for future
Right.
reference.
And then the idea, when you're talking about maybe next year in Armada, is the idea to try to bring something to, with our surrounding districts to have, form some kind of leadership council or what, you know, what's
Yeah.
the idea that
I
you're?
think that's kind of the idea. I mean, it's to, everything is always against each other.
Uh-huh.
And this is kind of something that we can hopefully, like, so kids can see that really real world stuff is you're working with a lot of different types of people.
Right.
And so that is kind of the long range goal, is to maybe do something where we can start and build a larger council, I guess.
Okay, all right, those were my questions. Anyone else?
I was just curious, in regards to liability, if someone were to get injured in the ropes course or with the polar bear dip, if they needed medical attention, is that on the camp, is that on the school? or
Yep,
is
they have that on the camp. They have,
Okay.
it's a full facility. They run camps really pretty much year round, mostly in the summer, but yes, yeah, that's not a
So they would
problem.
take care of all costs associated with that?
Yes.
Our district insurance, when it's on an approved district trip, the students would be covered. The first would be their own parents' own medical or insurance. But if there's an issue, then it becomes between the school and the camp.
Anyone else?
Do you know if this is the same camp that, I want to call him Officer Tim, but Mr. Wilkers?
Yeah, yeah.
Takes the Pell Camp too? Okay.
Yes, yeah, I work the Pell Camp as well.
Okay,
in the summer.
yeah, I
Do
used to go to that all the time as a kid, and there's a lot of fun stuff up there. I mean, a lot of good memories. And back when I was in school, I was part of the 4-County Foundation, and we never did anything like this, and had we do it, it would have been a lot more fun than what it already was, but the idea of getting other schools involved is great. I wouldn't think, I think you'd have more than enough people from Armada, you know, being that most of them probably went to Pell Camp as a
Yeah.
kid, so.
All the counselors are still pretty much from there and do that. Yeah, so, and he's the one that will actually kind of oversee the whole thing.
You gotta make sure he has his bugle in the morning to wake everybody up and do he used to make us all do head, shoulders, knees, and toes,
yeah.
eyes and ears, and all that stuff.
Plus,
So it was a long time ago for me, and it sticks fresh in my head. I make my kids do it every once in a while.
Plus, I think anytime you can get kids to get a chance to become leaders and they don't really realize that they are already, what you can bring out in them is just tremendous. It's just a great experience. Okay, thank you. Later on, a little bit down in the meeting here, we'll do our approval part. But thank you very much, both of you, and please thank Dr. Ladd, too, for bringing this. Next, superintendent and legislative update.
I'm going to start with some of the good news that's happening in the district. Just as a reminder to parents, this coming Wednesday is our first half day of school for PLCs. So students will have a half day of school that day. Last Friday, there was a letter that went home to the elementary 3rd and 4th graders regarding the laptops. One of the things that I wanted to just bring to the attention of the board as well as the listening audience is when we held the parent meeting, I think it was a Wednesday, September 2nd, or whatever day that was, there was a lot of very good conversation among the parents at Lee regarding the laptops and the technology and issuing emails, etc. Having gone through the laptop distribution process, we had some, as with anything, we had some bugs and kinks to work out, which I do appreciate for Mrs. Michon and Mr. Bartels for leading that. They were champions in that aspect, and them and their staff. Having gone through the process of getting students' email address over, we changed the process for elementary based on the age of the students. So we're in the process of, in essence, creating that screens and those images that the students did at the high school, middle school level for the elementary school. And we're going to be hosting a parent meeting on October 8th. There's 3 of them. Try to be at as many different times for parents. One is at 8 a.m. for those parents that may be home during the day. One is right after school at 3 for those parents, maybe they're picking up their child. And then there's one at 6 p.m. that night for those that are working and can't attend during the day. And the object of this is to sit down with the parents, to show them the laptop, try to bring down some of the concerns that they addressed at that parent meeting with the laptops and what we've learned with the middle school and high school. So our goal is that by October 9th, all laptops are distributed. We had, like I said, we had to work out some kinks at the middle school and high school, nothing major, just some minor issues that we had. So I encourage parents, if they can attend, to attend one of those 3 meetings, either during the day, right after school, or in the evening that night. And that letter went home again on the 25th.
Can I ask
Yep.
a question? I know that when I was at the middle school open house, I know there was conversation. What are we doing with children whose parents didn't want them to have a laptop, or there were concerns? What are we doing with those kids?
For those parents, the form that we will use going forward has a revision to allow the students to use the laptop and have a checkout process where at the middle school and middle school and high school, they can check them out at the media center for the day and use them, and then check them in back in at the end of the day, so that they can experience what the classroom teachers are experiencing, or the other students are experiencing. So we've worked on that process. There's a process where we have some parents that do not want their child to take it home because they're concerned with what might happen. So we've been dealing with those on a case-by-case, trying to address those issues.
So would it be fair to say that there's more issues of people not wanting their child to bring it home, or concerns about the laptops, like what you're doing for the elementary? Would that be something, are we at the high school and middle school where there would be parents that would benefit something like that? Are there parents that are uneasy?
I would say that I think the primary elementary concern is the issuing of an email. And part of our plan on the elementary is that we're actually handing the parent, here's the email, here's your child's password, you have access to get in and check anything in that email. That was one of the primary concerns at the elementary school. Other than,
I think all three in some levels, depending on the age of the child, had a concern of, okay, what happens if they're getting on the bus and it's bumping and it hits the edge of a desk and so forth, and that's why we kept reiterating, that's why we purchased a specific case to protect the laptop as much as we can. I don't think, Keith, you know, you have a four or five parents? Four parents?
I have 5.
5, so it's very small in the big scope of things, but we're trying to work with those families to, our ultimate goal is that no child has a different experience because of whatever concern. So working with those families, whether it's a checking out, whether it's utilizing the laptop and putting it in their locker, or actually taking it home. Some of the concerns with having a laptop is many families have something at home that they can log in, and I guess the biggest issue that we see is we need to have the login system because it's unique to the student, and they can use that same login at home. So if you have Office 365 at home, you just use the student email address, and they can access, save their files when they come and they log into the laptop. It's going to access their files anyway. So there hasn't been I don't think anything with security issues or any concerns regarding that. It's just been some logistical stuff.
Okay.
And in the big scope, it's relatively small. Like I said, we're going to roll out the elementary next week, and we can get there.
All right, thanks.
I want to definitely give a shout out to the Richmond community, as well as Mr. Bordeaux and Mrs. Michon for last Friday night. There was a football game that, though we didn't win, it was a very good game. But the community coming together for one of our own coaches, and it really speaks volumes about our community and people stepping up to support one another. So I know it took a lot of hands and coordination. I want to thank the Good Old Days Festival for their coordination, bringing in extra bleachers for us to accommodate larger crowds, the Richmond Police Department for additional staffing and so forth. It was definitely a community event worth attending. I also want to thank Kroger. I had the distinct pleasure of going to the ribbon cutting ceremony last Wednesday, and our bands performed there Wednesday afternoon, and Kroger is making a donation to the district, which, you know, my intent is to bring this to the board for acceptance, but for the music and fine arts program of $5,000, and I never expected to receive that much money from Kroger. They had County Executive Mark Hackle was there, Chief Teske was there, City Manager John Moore was there, several people from all over, and Kroger really spoke how they are part of the community and want to continue that partnership. So I thank Kroger, and that will be coming as a future board item to accept the donation from Kroger. Just to give an update on what's going on the legislative front, last week the 3rd grade reading retention bill was in testimony. Though most school districts, the premise of good reading instruction, quality reading instruction is not the challenge here, but the bill has that retention piece that almost every school district is vehemently opposed to. It was supposed to go through their committee to be voted on, to go out. The chairman of the committee, Amanda Price, who's one of the representatives, couldn't get enough votes to get it out. They're going to keep trying to get out of committee to become law. In essence, if you don't pass the proficiency test at 3rd grade, you are automatically retained. And probably one of the most disturbing facts is there's no accommodations for students with disability, and that they're retained. And for a system that relies on the M-STEP that we still are waiting for those results, that's the piece of legislation that we have a hard time with from a school system. The governor has pretty much 4 agenda items this fall. He has road funding is continuing, the Detroit Public Schools, criminal justice reform, and energy policy. You've seen a lot of commercials regarding energy. If you haven't, you will be seeing a lot of them. One of the things that I want to just make the community aware is that affects education is the Detroit Public Schools. In essence, the proposal that's out there is to take the existing Detroit Public Schools and create that as an old district, and have all the debt still be paid by the community members of Detroit Public Schools, and the state would create a new Detroit Public Schools and allow the foundation allowance to funnel that new Detroit, which is a tune of about $700 million that potentially could come off of the school aid fund to promote this new Detroit Public Schools district. I think it's worth noting that the state has been in charge of Detroit Public Schools finance for many years with several emergency financial managers. It doesn't seem to be working. And from our perspective is that money that's sitting in the school aid could be going to all students in the state of Michigan, and this structure in essence prevents that from helping our district as well as others, but ours particularly, with the needed funds that need to be here. And if you look at the study that with per pupil funding, we still aren't at a level where we were prior to the economy tanking. And that's a challenge that we have as managing the budget each year. So that's something I think everybody needs to have on their radar, because that is a huge drain to the school aid funds. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Next is items of interest from members of the board. Anyone?
I just want to say thanks to Brian for getting dahlias. We had some poplar trees over by the soccer fields at the Lee School there. I was over there watching my son's soccer game, and one of the trees actually fell while we were sitting there. Pretty tall tree, and luckily nobody was hurt. Usually there's a lot of kids over there playing, but Brian got dahlias over there right away and had them all the rest of the trees cut down and trimmed up. But so I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Just since for the board, there were 14 trees that when we started looking at them were actually dead on the inside, so we cleared them all out. There are 2 remaining trees that will be taken care of. One is at the corner of the bus circle at Lee, and then one is at the corner of the JV softball diamond by the middle school. It's a pretty big tree that has to be removed yet. But we got the most critical ones down first. That was our first priority.
Anyone else? I just wanted to say thank you to our administrators who are in the audience. Last week we hosted the Macomb County School Board Association monthly dinner, and it is a night that every school board member in the county comes to dinner, and we're able to make Richmond look good for a night. And thanks to those that are sitting here tonight and those that are not here, they did a really good job. Good sports, wore the lab coats, all of that, and we thank you, because it's hard to do. It's hard to get people sometimes to commit, and we seem to always be able to get our administrators to commit when it comes time to make us look good. So thank you. I know it was a long day. It was a long day for all of us too, but thank you for that. And as I was coming in tonight, I looked at the corn stalks and all of that, and there's a little note on there, and it said that those were donated by our Richmond band boosters. And come to find out, as I've seen them in the roundabout and all over, the band boosters have donated that to the district, that decorating, and it's beautiful. So I think we need to give a shout out to them, and they are having their fall fundraiser this Saturday and Sunday, correct? Do you know the times? I didn't see anything that said what time. It just said Saturday and Sunday. But there'll be people outside. Is it in the front of the building? Is that the idea, in front of the high school?
Yes, yes.
So if we can get out and support our band in their fall fundraiser, please do.
To go along with that, the chamber is buying their hay and stalks from the band boosters that will line the street poles, so to help our band support. So they're actually buying the stuff from our band boosters. So.
Excellent. Okay, next is our public comment portion of our meeting, that if you would like to address the board, you can come up to the podium. There's a card to leave your name and phone number. You would have 3 minutes to speak. It is not a question and answer session. It is basically comment. Someone would get back to you after the meeting. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Okay. Next, consent agenda. We would need a motion to approve the consent agenda, which has a personnel report as presented.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
That was Chris. Okay, it's been moved and supported. Brian?
We have one retirement that will be effective December 31st. Mrs. Charlene Plagan, the middle school media technician, because their official title. She'll be retiring at the end of the school year, so we'll wish her the best. We're planning on the December meeting to bring all of our retirees back, because we have several of them that are coming. But we have also 4 new hires. Heidi? I didn't see Heidi here. So, all right. Heidi Masiko is our 4-year-old preschool. Shelley Weatherholt is our
Stand up, Shelley.
Shelley, I'm sorry, is our community liaison and public relations secretary. This is the new position that we talked about in the budget, and we'll begin working with the pieces for the facility use with the athletic department, moving some of that over to that piece of it. We have, I don't think Shannon Martin. Laura Ottenbacher is coming to us. She is the half-time GSRP. We were able to increase the number of seats, so we are going to be even more recruiting and finding students. Our count date for that is until after the first of the year, so our goal is to get as many students into preschool as possible. I think that is it.
Okay. It has been moved and supported. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, and welcome again, or continued welcome, I guess is the good word for you, Laura. It's good to have you. Next, our action items, approval of overnight wrestling tournament. This was presented to us 2 weeks ago by our wrestling coach. So there is a sample resolution in front of us.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the 2015-16, whoops, I'm reading the wrong one.
You're reading the wrong one. 11A.
Oh, nice. I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the overnight wrestling tournament request as presented in the attached documentation.
Is that Bridget? It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Next is approval of the 2015-16 Student Parent Handbook. This was also something that we reviewed 2 weeks ago, so I don't know, does anyone have anything additional, any other questions before we go to a motion about the handbook? No? Okay. Then there's a sample resolution.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the 2015-2016 student parent handbook as the second and final.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Other than thank you to those that helped put this together. It has been moved and supported. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next. Approval to amend the contract with R.C. Hendrick Construction. Brian?
In August, there was a motion to approve increase the contract with Dickerson regarding the middle school gymnasium ductwork. We had gone through that process. We had thought everything was in line. Shortly after the board approved it, that particular vendor rescinded their offer to do the work, knowing the scope of what needed to be done. What's before you is a request for Hendrick Construction, which is the contract manager, to increase their contract, and then what they will do is they will contract specifically with a subcontractor who does heating and cooling or to complete the project. So we're just moving the dollar amount from what was previously allocated for the ductwork for the middle school to Hendrick. In your backup, I provided you the actual change of change order, which would be number 2 in the backup. And then the actual number, letter C, or the third one, is the previous contract that was approved back in February of 2014 with Hendrick Construction.
Okay, there's a sample resolution.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve an amendment to R.C. Hendrick Construction Management Contract for an additional amount not to exceed $30,754.02 for a grand total of $362,864.02 plus reimbursable, for which funding from the 2013 voter-approved bond is authorized.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion or questions?
I have a question, so is it Dickerson will not be doing it?
Dickerson will not be doing any of the work.
Okay.
Dickerson was actually going to subcontract it like they did much of the project with our current heating and cooling. And the
Preliminary, that subcontractor is willing to do the work, but with Hendrick's oversight, so that we know. It'd actually be Hendrick and French's oversight. Ultimately, Hendrick is responsible, because the contract would be for going to Hendrick. But French's would be there to make sure what we designed is actually installed. If you remember, I don't remember the August presentation when they were here, that was.
I heard it as well. So this new company is someone that,
They got multiple quotes and bids and stuff, and, I mean, $30,000 is a lot of money over what Dickerson was gonna do.
The rate
The
that-
work for.
The rate that was quoted when the original, when Dickerson was originally doing, all those rates that were included in the cost were at the rates they bid at. And what Hendrick is saying is they will not go over that, those rates were less because we bid it out at the time. And we got those rates, those hourly employment, or the employee rates were at a different rate. I mean, if you were normally go to a Univent company or a heating and cooling company, you may pay more, but because Dickerson locked in a certain hourly rate based on the scope of the project,
Right.
we got that savings from that rate. And so what Hendrick is saying is, within that same dollar amount, they will get the right contractor in there to complete the work.
plus $30,000.
Well, the $30,000, the majority of that is for the materials and then the labor for actually installing it. And so if the board approves it tonight, I'll be on the phone tomorrow to start lining up the dates for that gymnasium to be completed.
The other question I had, and I wasn't at that meeting, but they knew what the gym entailed. They knew the size of the gym, they knew what the system was originally.
Why did they not bid it out appropriately for that? This isn't their first rodeo for putting a heating and cooling system in a gym.
When we had French's and Hendrick's here, the original scope, whenever it was determined, and I want to say back in
February of 14, was to take what was there, remove them, and put a new unit that had certain specifications. There was no ductwork in those.
I mean, that's the whole point.
That is the correct.
That is the
So when you look at what was designed for the new addition in the science room, and you look at what was previously designed, and I don't know the architect who designed the high school gym when that was built several years ago.
It was French.
Was it French? So the ductwork was included on those projects. For whatever reason, the original scope of the middle school gymnasium, it was a replacement of the units, and many of those units were not functioning, working. I don't know off the top of my head, I don't know how many, but of the 4 units, there was no ductwork.
I'm not sure why French Associates isn't eating this cost.
Well, they have agreed not to have their last bill. They're waiving that fee that we would normally have paid them out. When I met with Dale Jerome from French's, the redesign or the design, they're not charging us for that because this was not in the original scope. And from their perspective, this is additional work, though we, on our side, believe that if you should have designed it the right way originally.
Yes.
but the way it was designed and the way it was approved in that original scope didn't include this.
And truly, it's not just French's fault, that this is French's way of taking responsibility for doing this. I mean, it's not just their fault.
Is
The
Dickerson?
only fault it isn't is ours. We're the ones left holding the bag.
Yeah, I mean, they were the final engineering stamp of approval on it. To me, that's the final say on it. Somebody has to be the person who is responsible, and it seems to me that that's ending up being us financially.
I can say from, I'm picking up the bag and going with this, that what the direction that they were given in however fashion was to replace what's there. And when French's came in, they looked at the 4 units, they said, okay, this unit heats so many square footage of this building, let's put a similar unit in there. But when all, as you know, when all 4 of them are on, the sound is too loud. You can't operate in the gym with all 4 of them running the way it was designed to run with all 4 of them running.
Is Dickerson still owed any money?
Yes, Dickerson is owed money, and we are in the process of working with Troon Law Firm as well as Hendricks regarding their final balance and some of the.
Which is why they don't want to do any more work for us.
When I brought this to you, I will be honest, there was brought with a little hesitation, but all the players, we've been talking about this, figuring this out for many months. We knew exactly what needs to be done. The concern was bringing in a new person who doesn't know the scope or exactly what needs to be the problems that we've entailed. With Hendricks being still a part of it, that's the.
And they're pretty confident they're going to be able to find a sub that.
Yeah, their expectation is by the end of October this is done, if not sooner. But they have subcontractors lined up, ready to go, who are willing to do it at whatever the cost that was originally bid out, or that Dickerson agreed to.
And so, is that sub, whoever it may be, are they just here to install it, and then if there's a problem, it goes back to, 3-6 months from now, is there a problem? Is it Hendrick, or is it the sub that?
The contract is with Hendricks, so we would be working with Hendrick regarding resolution of that, and then they would deal with their subcontractors.
Okay. It has been moved and supported. I will do a roll call. Sarah? Dan?
Aye.
Bridget? Chris?
Hey.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. Next, approval of overnight leadership trip. This is our presentation that we just had. There is a sample resolution.
Could I say something before they?
No. Let's make the motion first, please.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the overnight as presented in the attached document.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
I just want, normally we do a presentation at the first meeting and an action item at the second one. I'm going to communicate this to the organization in an email that everybody understands that as you're planning for future overnight trips, you need to take that into consideration, because normally they don't ask you to approve it on the same night you present. So that's why tonight, because of the timing of the issue. So that'll go up.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session to consider attorney-client communication.
So moved.
Dan? It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are going to go into closed session, and we will be returning to finish the meeting. We are back in open session at 8:17. Item number 13, which was a continuation of our action items regarding approval of a settlement agreement between Richmond Community Schools and the Richmond Education Association. At this time, the board is unable to vote on that settlement agreement due to an inaccurate date in the document. So I am looking for a motion to table that item to our next board meeting.
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:18 PM.